You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward will you have? Don't even the tax collectors do the same?" As people who claim to follow Jesus, we can and do disagree about what he meant on many issues. On this issue, Jesus left no room for us to pervert what he is saying. Before anything else, if we claim to follow Jesus, we are to love everyone, including those we see as enemies. As he often did, Jesus appealed to life in a very different moral economy than we are used to. In the world's kingdom, we don't love our enemy. In that kingdom, we survive and prosper by utterly destroying them. Politicians, talking heads, and some religious zealots have built careers promoting fear and hate of those they claim to be their enemies. While some have fully embraced the worldly kingdom's visible hatred of their enemy, most are far more subtle about it. They oppose the things they believe their enemy loves. They promote social and political policies that place their enemy at a disadvantage. When they see their enemy in need, they ignore that need and secretly celebrate. At best, they may help, but make sure to point out that they brought this on themselves. Jesus turns this idea on its head. He doesn't see love as a strategy. He simply says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Why? He makes it clear that the reason is that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Again, he reminds us of our birthright as children of our Creator. He is reminding us of the kingdom of heaven and telling us to make a choice. God's intent for us is to love our enemies fearlessly, selflessly, and with our whole hearts. The sort of forgiveness of an enemy that I believe Jesus was addressing is seen in acts of extraordinary grace provided when it seems humanly impossible. For example, those members of the Rwandan Tutsi community who forgave members of the Hutu tribe responsible for the murder of family members during the Rwandan genocide. A survivor of Auschwitz forgives a Nazi guard. A woman forgives a relative who sexually abused her as a child. A church calls for forgiveness for a young man whose racism and violence claimed the lives of some of its members. These days, this teaching is weighing on me and challenging the solidity of my own faith. In no time since the Civil War has our nation been so divided. There are two sides, two takes on nearly every issue. Even after the campaign signs go down, the different paths are still traveled and well marked. What is most distressing, though, is not that we simply disagree, but it's the way that we disagree. Our desire to be proven right, win the argument, and defeat those we see as our enemies have hobbled us. It has brought our government to a standstill. It has infected our communications, broken familial and brotherly connections, and done seemingly irreparable harm to the witness of the church. We live during a time where those we view as the enemy seem to be everywhere. The rationale, motivation, and even humanity of the other tribe seem alien to us. At times like this, a part of me simply wants to call them out and turn over tables. I can see Jesus in the temple courtyard, whip in hand, driving them away. But is that what Jesus called me to do? I am left realizing that I can only go to God with this. Today's prayer. Dear God, too often we give an ear to dishonesty, ignorance, and arrogance. We quarrel and harvest our disgust of those with whom we disagree. Help us correct our own thinking, soften our own hearts, and sharpen our ability to think, learn, and grow. Let us see our enemy as a brother created in your image, not defined by their views, and worth far more than we realize.